Hi guys, and I think for this one we have to keep a scorecard or almost like a baseball playbook for this actual former San Diego County Sheriff's captain. He apparently he pleaded guilty. He was actually convicted of unlawful firearms transactions and for an array of corrupt conduct relating to unlicensed marijuana dispensaries that actually operated under his jurisdiction. So a captain is actually up there in rank. You know, they got a lot of power. They have actually a lot of uh, decisions that actually are made at the almost at the political end. This is what a captain will actually uh, conduct. Is actually higher than a supervisor, higher than a sergeant. So this actual sheriff, he was actually a member of the sheriff's department for over 27 years. So he's been around for a while. So he's been around TV. He's pretty up there in popularity, and he was assigned to a fairly new station out in East County in San Diego, and it's a fresh, brand new station out there, kind of tucked away in the hills, but it is a newer actual facility, and apparently he liked to deal with firearms. When I mean deal, like a dealer, like actual uh, to buy these and to sell them to uh, people that he knew, family, and these actual customers, they were more on the tier of a higher social standing. Therefore, he had the actual the how do you say it? He had the actual how do you say it? When somebody wants to become a politician at that end, but to become the actual elected, the sheriff, the main sheriff for San Diego County. So he wanted to actually have people that had a lot of influence and to back him and support him if he were to ever run for actual office for the San Diego sheriff position. That's what his main focus was, besides being monetary. So apparently, over a 6 year period, he bought over 150 weapons, guns, and rifles, and you name it, and he sold over 100 of them. A lot of them were actually straw purchases. That means that he actually went in there and purchased these weapons with the knowledge, with the intention of them being for him and for him only, for his personal collection. But instead, he actually sold them to jewelers. He sold them to different, just different people who can actually contribute to his campaign, lawyers. So as he's actually buying these actual guns, and this is years ago, the ATF and the FBI pulled him aside and told him that he was actually breaking the law and he needed to stop doing it. Okay, now I'm telling you right now, this is a good example of the good old boys club. Okay, and that has nothing to do with color, nothing to do with race. It has to do with power. Okay, I don't think the ATF or the FBI will come to us and tell us, "Hey, you're doing this. This is illegal. Stop doing it." And when I tell you a sentence, it's gonna blow you away. Okay, so he's actually conducting these in his office at the substation. He's actually conducting these at lawyer's office. Okay, when they make a lot of actual restrictions in California to obtain weapons, attempt to actually obtain assault rifles, that you can't do that. You can only buy a certain amount of actual ammunition and actual weapons, but they have to be conducted buy a guns dealer at their actual premises, just so you don't have anybody at a strip mall, at a shopping center, conducting these types of exchanges, these types of transactions. They have to be done in a controlled environment, and the law specifically has a handful of actual authorized locations, let alone the actual dealer, but at their actual place of business, the actual dealer's place of business. And he was allowing this to happen at his substation, at the actual customer's house or place of business. And he would actually backdate the permits that you need to actually wait for a certain amount of time for a handgun. He would take care of all the paperwork, and he would have his his actual staff create these actual backdated forms, applications. Okay, and when specific customers wanted to get a concealed permit, concealed carry, apparently for the San Diego County, there's an 8-month waiting period before you can even see the actual person who's gonna set up an appointment to actually have you apply for a concealed permit. It takes up to 8 months to see that person, and these guys were actually speeding it up with his influence. And he had somebody doing this actual actual appointment making, and he ended up being an associate for his basically, well, one of the judges called it almost like a mob style of sorts, and he was a mob boss, and he actually had his people taking care of actual business with the intention of him getting a kickback from that transaction. And it'd be like $100 for each transaction that he would actually request. So that in itself right there, that tells you how much power a captain has, And as for the dispensaries, he would give his relatives a heads up when they were going to do raids, when they were going to conduct actual search warrants on their actual businesses of actual growing weed. And it's very lucrative, and it's a lot of cash involved, and you don't want to lose that cash because you're never going to get it back, And he would actually give them the heads up when they were actually going to conduct any kind of sweep in his jurisdiction, and therefore that grow company would just get rid of all the evidence. And then once they conduct that actual raid or search warrant, there'd be nothing there to actual to confiscate. And the sheriffs would leave a note. Like one example was the sheriffs left an actual note and saying that that they were actually going to come back at a certain date or something like in that sort. So he called and talked to the clerk that's in charge of that actual notice, and he asked, "Hey, can we have it pushed back?" And then again, somebody from the clerk's office, yes, we can. They acknowledged that they pushed their relatives actually dispensary, give it some more time to make money, just get rid of basically profit from it, and he had that end too covered, because you've been around for almost 28 years. You can know people, you know what I mean? And so he actually went about and talked to these property owners about conducting their actual their grow houses and so forth, and at a percentage of what he wanted to kick back to him, you know what I mean? And somebody didn't want to do it and actually turned him in, and that's when it says this is getting out of hand, and one of the landlords declined the offer. And another thing he was actually doing, he was actually getting ammunition, getting certain weapons that were only offered to law enforcement, and he was actually selling them too. And I mean, that's that's privileged equipment for law enforcement. And he is giving it to lawyers, giving it to well-known jewelers in town, and he falsified so many records on the actual transactions of the actual, what he was doing with the actual guns, and he even drug one of his sheriff's lieutenant to actually plead guilty to acknowledge the actual straw purchases that he was actually doing, and the business he was actually conducting at the actual substation. So I mean, he not only did he ruin his actual career, he ruined other people too around him, and let's get this straight, okay? This actual captain, okay? Let me tell you, he only got 2 years, 24 months, and had to pay an $8,000 fine. Okay? After he approximately put 297 firearms out in the street with over 131,000 rounds. With the help and with the organization, with organized planning on how to conduct these actual transactions. How is this not a RICO case? Okay. After 6 years, they finally decide to do something about this? Just think about everything that I actually mentioned. And I'm only touching up on the actual what is being mentioned, okay? If he's doing this, what else is he doing? Two years. No RICO. No gun trafficking. No, not any kind of terrorist actual charge like endangering the community. 2 years. And for the union, he's gonna get his retirement. It's already locked in, And for getting a fine of less than $9,000, you and I'd be looking at 25 to life, easily. Okay, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.